It's time for a little comedy, a little content, and a lot of conversation. It's the Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube. Now here's your host, Geno Jones.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? Bam! How we doing? I hope you had a great weekend. The Geno Jones Show. I come to you live Monday through Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. This is week number 2, day number 6 of my 3rd year anniversary celebration. Yes, so 3 years ago, 3 years and 1 week to the day was the beginning of the Geno Jones Variety Show. My daily variety show, the Geno Jones Show. Think about it, like a late night talk show, just in the afternoon or early evening. How about that? Monday through Friday, live, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. in Chicago, 3:30 p.m. out on the West Coast. Please, you and everybody you know and don't know, like, love, can't stand, hate, strangers, aliens from outer space. Tell everybody to subscribe, share, screen grab, like, bam, and binge watch all my back episodes. That's how you spell Geno with an E, Geno Jones Show. So, I hope you had a good weekend. I had a good weekend. I got my rest. But it was really we got some traumatic, horrible things that happened, jumped off over the weekend. I hate war. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But I'm more excited that I got a guest. I got a great guest. He is a future star. This brother is amazing. He is from Brooklyn, New York. Repping Brooklyn, yes sir. He's got a song called Therapy. And he's got an interesting story. And I'm really excited to have this brother on the show. And I love his name, John Alex Gatsby. Just that name's got swag right there. Especially that last name, John Alex Gatsby. So you know the brother's full of swag and style, and the music is amazing, so we're going to talk about that. We're going to let him tell his story. That's coming up. Happy birthday today, October 9th. To remember, listen, I know a lot of folks. I watched it myself, so I know a lot of you guys watching me across America, here in the low country, in the Charleston, South Carolina metro. Remember the show? Everybody Hates Chris. And the kid that played, he was like, there was a guy that played like the kid version of Chris Rock. Well, now he's gone on to play a character called Gregory Eddie in one of the best sitcoms on television, written by a sister, Quinta Brunson. Sister is bad. She is the showrunner. The showrunner means the sister that runs the show, like wrote the show, the showrunner. She runs it. Like my sister that did Scandal and Scandal, Grey's Anatomy. So anyway, Quinta Brunson, she's the showrunner for the show Abbott Elementary. But there's a guy that plays a character called Gregory Eddie, Tyler James Williams, who played the young Chris Rock on Everybody Hates Chris. He's 31 today. Happy birthday. Also, today is Indigenous People Day. Shout out to all my Native American brothers and sisters. Shout out to all the indigenous people all across the world, in the Caribbean, in Australia, on the continent of Africa, all over the planet. Shout out to the indigenous people. The indigenous people are the people who originally were on their land. Now we know Great Britain and Portugal and Spain, primarily Great Britain, Portugal and Spain, they were right there, and France. France got in on the colonization too, but the main colonizers were Great Britain, Spain, Portugal, and France. So it is Indigenous People Day once again. Shout out, nothing but love and respect to all my indigenous brothers and sisters from all over the planet. By the way, today is Columbus Day. So shout out to all my Italian American brothers and sisters. All due respect. Celebrate your holiday. Celebrate your culture. Celebrate your culture as Italians, Italian Americans here in America. Even though Columbus did not discover America. So we're going to tell the story about Columbus. Let's tell it all. Let's tell the truth. There's still the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. I'm not going to give you a full history lesson. You can Google Columbus. He did not, as a matter of fact, Columbus really didn't make it here. He got lost. That's a whole different story. So there were people who were living here, the indigenous Native American people who were here before anybody got here. And a little further south where Texas is, you had the indigenous brothers and sisters. That's now, that was Mexico. Texas and New Mexico, that was Mexico. And Southern California, San Diego and Los Angeles. Those are Spanish names. I digress. I'm not going to give you the full history lesson. So I want to shout out all my indigenous brothers and sisters. And, the Powerball. Yes, the last check. The Powerball is up to $1,550,000,000. Wow. I want it all. Give me the billion and the 550 million. But if I had to settle for the 550 million, sign me up. But hey, I deserve it. If the Lord blesses me to have the winning ticket, I'm taking all $1,550,000,000. And I'm going to bless a whole lot of people. And they won't even know it. That's what I'm more excited about what I can do for other people than what I can do, because God has blessed me. I've had the nicest cars, living in the nicest apartments, homes, apartments overlooking the lake and the ocean. So I've been blessed. But I would just be more excited to be able to bless not just my family, friends, people who are extended family, and even strangers. So that's what I'm going to do with this Powerball lottery that I'm about to hit in a couple hours. So 10:59, 11 o'clock Eastern time. So we got less than 4 hours. Okay, I want to cover something real quick, and I got a guest. So I don't want to have him waiting too long, but I would be remiss. Anybody that's been watching my show for 3 years, listen, whatever's relevant, whatever's happening in the world, not just here in the East Coast and the Charleston, South Carolina metro, not just on the East Coast, not just here in America, but globally. We talk about it all. And I interject and use humor to really engage in because my style of humor really is social political. What kind of comedian? My comedy, it's rooted in social political commentary. That's really my vibe as a person that does stand-up comedy, and this written comedy for my radio shows for over 3 decades. But some things are not funny. And when you have innocent people, when you have innocent men, women, teenagers, children, babies, kidnapped, murdered, women and girls raped, just innocent people, shot and just kidnapped. There's absolutely, positively no excuse for that level of inhumanity from anybody. Anybody. Now, you've probably heard that the state of Israel is at war with a group, a terrorist group in that part of the world in the Middle East called Hamas. Now, listen, I'm not a political science major. I'm not a geopolitical major, even though I do read a lot. And I've done, just out of curiosity, I've done even more reading up about this region of the world, the Middle East. So over the weekend, this terrorist group rooted in a strip of land called Gaza, the Gaza Strip, which is like just west of Israel. They share a border. So you've had this terrorist group, Hamas, that launched an attack on the Israeli people by air, by land, by sea. Hundreds, several hundreds, as of last count, like about 30 minutes ago, the last time I checked, several hundred innocent Israeli men, women, and children have been murdered. Hundreds of Israeli citizens just Not, now there may be some Israeli soldiers, part of the Israeli military. Some might have been captured, but as of last count, you've had over hundreds of just innocent Israeli civilians kidnapped, not to mention the ones that have been killed. And I'm going to say this again, no matter who you are, because two wrongs don't make a right. And wrong, you can never find right and wrong, as my mother taught me, who's watching my show right now. So there's absolutely no excuse for that level of inhumanity by any group that calls themselves a group that wants to liberate and to fight for the freedom of another group. Because what happens is that the innocent people who are not a part of leadership, see, leadership matters. And a lot of times governments get involved and they make decisions that reflect on the people, even when the people don't agree with the citizens or the decisions that the government or those who claim to represent people make. So Hamas is a terrorist group. They launched an attack on the state of Israel, on the people of Israel. No excuse for that. Now, but you have to understand, because common sense would make you say, what would cause anybody? This level of hate, where does it come from? But there's no excuse for this level of inhumanity. This inhumanity is separate. And this level of inhumanity was not committed by the Palestinian people. It was committed by a group that basically just kind of put themselves in a leadership position because the people of the Palestinian people in Gaza, the Gaza Strip, really don't have any other choice because they have been living under oppression. So this part of the world is really complicated. Israelis and Palestinians, they have been fighting for at least 75 years. The State of Israel was formed technically in 1947. The United Nations created the State of Israel on land that was colonized by Great Britain. And in 1948, officially, the State of Israel became the State of Israel in the eyes of the United States and the United Nations. Now, the Palestinian people, the Israeli people, they have been fighting longer than 75 years. They have been fighting for centuries. And for you Bible scholars or students, which I am not, but I know enough and I read enough and did enough research to understand that the Israelis, the people who can call themselves the Palestinians and the Israelis, people who come from the same, literally the same region and the same land, they have been fighting for centuries. As a matter of fact, for you Bible scholars, you are probably familiar with the story of Abraham. Abraham had a wife that couldn't have children, but Abraham had 2 children. Now you have 2 groups that claim that this land was bestowed to them by their God. So the point I'm trying to make is that there's been fighting between 2 groups that are actually cousins, like genetically. Talk to an anthropologist, somebody that studies anthropology. So don't believe my word, do your own research. Because this region, that land where you have the State of Israel, and you have the West Bank, and you have the Gaza Strip, all that was Palestine. And it was colonized by Great Britain. And Great Britain, once again, basically said, here's some land that we can create a state of Israel after the horrors of the Holocaust and what happened to Jews that were in not just Germany, but Eastern Europe. So now we have a full-blown war. But in war, unfortunately, innocent people, like we have hundreds, going on thousands of innocent Jewish brothers and sisters. You had a concert. There was just young people just having a great time at a concert. Nearly 300 people murdered. Now, the state of Israel and their government, it's not the people of Israel, but the leader, the head, the Israel's version of orange jumpsuit Hitler, Donald Trump, Benjamin Netanyahu, who is facing almost a mutiny for the men and women of his own military, who said they were resigning, and they weren't resigning because he threatened basically to pull a dictator move and take over the courts in Israel. And it was like, listen, then we won't have a democracy. And we believe in democracy, and that's why we fight for our country. So if it's not going to be a democracy, count me out. So this happened just a couple months ago. Now, I pray that the worst won't happen, but I'm really afraid for the people in that part. I'm afraid for the Jewish brothers and sisters in Israel. I'm afraid for these innocent Palestinians that are going to be made an example out of, and they're going to be victims of revenge from the Israeli government, and primarily Benjamin Netanyahu, who wants revenge for the innocent Israelis that were murdered. I was taught when I was a little kid, an eye for eye will make everybody blind. I hope and pray that somehow, peace can come to that area. I'm gonna take a deeper dive later in the week, but I just needed to address that. I wouldn't be true to who I am, and people are wondering, well, Geno, what do you think about what's happening? Because what's happening in the Middle East, what's happening in Israel, and in Gaza, because you're about to get a full ground invasion of Israeli troops is going into a little small strip of land, about 161 square miles. The size of not even a big city, not even the size geographically, it's not even as big as Houston or Jacksonville. Just think of maybe like New York City or Chicago. You got 300,000 people that's been caught up, and you got tanks, and you got all these high rises. It's the third most densely populated area on the planet. So I am hoping and praying for peace in that region. Like I said, I'm going to take a deeper dive because this battle, this is just a whole nother level. But this fight and the fight for land between the Israelis and Palestinians, it has been going on for centuries. So let me bring on my guest. I want to segue here. My guest, ladies and gentlemen, he is a future superstar. Repping Brooklyn, he is the buzz in the music business, and his latest hit, Therapy, is straight fire. Ladies and gentlemen, let me click a button right here, and let me unmute his mic, and let me bring him on camera. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring to you John Alex Gatsby to the show. John, my brother, welcome. Thank you. I want to thank you. Welcome to the show. And you got to have the coolest name. With a name like that, you destined for greatness and multi-platinum.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I mean, it's like, a lot of times in radio and television, people ask me, is Geno Jones your real name? It's my government name. That's who I am. But if I was to have a stage name, I would have one like yours, boss. I'm just kidding.
I appreciate that very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Listen, man, congratulations on all your success. And thank you for being patient, man. You've probably seen some clips with the show. We always try to, be on top of what's relevant because what happens, in one place could affect us right here in America. So, I always try to let my viewers know what's going on.
I was watching.
Yeah, man. So,
You like you got a lot of history. You know all the facts.
Yeah, well, you know what they say, reading is fundamental.
I like that.
So that helped out.
I'm a book nerd myself, so I get it.
Oh,
I get
okay.
it.
You know what? It's funny you said that. So, funny quick story. When I was a kid, so I'm the oldest, and I'm the only boy. So I got two younger sisters. So I didn't have anybody to play with in the wintertime. Growing up in Chicago, so you grew up in Brooklyn, y'all get winters, not quite like Chicago, but y'all still get some winters. You know,
Yeah, we do.
some days it's just too cold to go outside. You like, boy, it's too cold. You can't go out there and play or play in that snow. And so I didn't have sisters to play with because they weren't, I was into sports and reading. And they had the Easy Bake Oven and the Barbie doll house. So they were doing their things. So my mother bought me, so probably when I was, I don't know, 7, 8, 5, 6, maybe 7, 8, because I started reading young. Believe it or not, my mother would tell you, I was like reading, I wasn't even 2. She's like, what is he reading something off the TV? So the bottom line is, I always loved to read. She actually bought me a set of World Book encyclopedias. I'll never forget it. And then when I got to going into high school, I think eighth grade, she bought me a set of the Encyclopedia Britannica. They were like white and brown. The World Books were red. So when I got bored, especially in the wintertime, because the summertime I'm out playing sports, baseball, basketball, football, whatever. But in the wintertime when it was too cold to go outside, if there was a word I didn't understand, I'd ask my grandparents or my mom. She'd say, go look it up. So I would look up that one word, John, and then I would just read the whole. I'm like, okay, well, let me see what else is in it. So I would sit around and read encyclopedias just to entertain myself because I had nobody to play with when it was cold outside. So I was just sharing that story with you because I really appreciate, you talked about loving to read, and a lot of times, unfortunately, in our community, especially brothers and sisters, but a lot of times, the community, the culture, would shame, brothers like you ain't supposed to read and be smart, like it's like something wrong. I'm like, do you understand your history? Your culture, our people built pyramids and invented vaccines. So, intelligence, no one group of people have a patent on intelligence. If you know your history, then we're supposed to be smart because our ancestors were smart.
Right. Exactly. That's absolutely true.
So tell us your story, though, man. I want to hear about you. So tell us your story. How did you get into music? Was it always your love, or were you destined to play pro sports, basketball or football? Maybe you wanted to be a doctor. Or what's your journey? Or how did your journey bring you to where you are right now?
Yeah, I grew up in a very musical household. My dad was a DJ on the radio. So
in what city?
He started out in New York on WBLS, and then moved to when I was raised in Greensboro, North Carolina, on 97.1 WQMG. He did The Quiet Storm.
What's your dad's name?
What
was his radio name?
He has a few. DJ Humidity was one, and John the Boss Ross was the other one.
John the Boss Ross. Was that in the Carolinas? Or I've seen his name and I've heard his name before. So wow, it's a small world. Okay, shout out to your dad. Wow.
Yeah, okay. Shout out to Dad. I grew up listening to music all the time. He was constantly mixing and playing different genres, and so I was exposed to many different types of music growing up. He taught me how to DJ and how to mix when I was real young. So my appreciation for music really started there, just growing up in a house where music was loud and proud all day, every day. We just grew up with it all the time. So through that exposure, I kind of, and I think a lot of it's kind of genetic too. I think it was passed down, and my love for music, I think comes from him. And I think his love for music came from his mother. And, my great uncles were all in choirs and pastors and so on and so forth. Okay. So we grew up kind of in a very musical household. So I was exposed to a lot of different types of music, and that allowed me to explore different types of music from a very young age and have an appreciation for different artists and a variety of different music in genres. And I don't know, I didn't think that I could ever get into music like that. But when I moved back to New York about 5 years ago, I decided to explore it a little bit. And we had our first song called "Let You Go" with my boy Rozo that took off. It hit Sirius XM and nationwide syndicated radio, and it was a cool experience. And so I said, okay, I'm gonna go full tilt with this and just give it my all. And we've been off to the races ever since. Really, it's been fun.
So what was your biggest influence? Because like my mom was into music, which kind of had an influence. When I was 10, actually, I knew I either wanted to be on radio and TV or play pro baseball, which I had a chance to do, which is a whole different story. She still got a picture. When I was 10, she bought me, I'm dating myself, a little cassette player, and it was a little record player. My neighbor was putting a record on, some vinyl on, and I had like the little microphone, talking into the microphone, and to this day, she still has this picture. But I mean, I grew up in my house, like to this day, my mother loves Marvin Gaye. I mean, the only man I ever saw my mom get close to acting like a groupie about was Marvin Gaye. I know she looking at me, she's like, boy, what's wrong with you? But she loved Marvin Gaye. So Marvin Gaye, she loved us and Teddy. She went to when Teddy back in the day had the for women only concerts. She went, her and her girlfriend went to see him in Chicago at the Erie Crown Theater for women only. Boy, they were talking about that show. But of course, like she dug Motown, but like the 70s style. Of course, Aretha. She loved Aretha and Gladys Knight. And then in the 80s, Anita Baker, Luther, she loved her some Luther. So I'm sure those were probably favorites in your house, but was it a particular artist or artist that really kind of resonated with you that you said, I can see myself with that vibe?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was Michael Jackson. Like I grew up,
come on, man.
I watched Moonwalker when I was a kid. I knew every line of the movie. I knew every word of every song. I was a Michael Jackson kid, and I don't know how that necessarily started. I think, like I said, just exposure through my family and like being exposed to different music, and I just gravitated towards Michael. I love Michael. I think he's the greatest entertainer of all time.
Say that,
I don't know.
Say that part right there. I'm co-signing.
Yeah.
Y'all thought I was crazy. There you go.
Absolutely.
Goat.
Undisputed.
Yeah.
Undisputed. But yeah, so growing up listening to Michael and like just observing and like, watching him and his craft and practicing the music, I inspired to be like him. I don't think that it's possible, but like,
well, don't sell yourself short, because you got Michael and remix it with who? Because one thing that nobody can beat you doing, John, is nobody can beat you being the best version of yourself. And with that influence, you might come up with this whole remix. They're like, man, this dude here.
I'd be honored to even be considered in the same breath as such a great entertainer. But so I grew up listening to Michael, and I'm inspired by him. And a lot of people do say that they hear some Michael in my music, and all the guys that followed him too, from The Weeknd, Justin Timberlake, Usher, Chris Brown, all those guys had major influences in my life. And they all kind of fall under Michael's purview. So that's why I say Michael's like the foundation, as it will, and then the tower is built on top. So, the fact that I can be named at all with any of those great entertainers, I think would be a great honor.
Well, I think you're definitely on your way. So tell us about Therapy, your single, and tell us about the album. And did you write on it? Who was who did the beats with you and for you on it?
Yeah, shout out to my producers, Biscuit and Butter, the dynamic duo right there. Grammy nominated producers, wonderful guys, man. They've worked with Beyonce, they've worked with John Legend. It's a real pleasure to get to work with them on these records. We've made, I want to say like 7 or 8 records so far together. So like there's more coming after Therapy. Therapy was kind of a unique track because it came in a time when I just like, when you get into the music of the business of music, right? You find as an artist that it takes you away from the artistic creativity. Yeah. And when I made Therapy, I was in a mindset where I was getting too involved in the business of music and stepping away, I felt like, from my artistic vision in music. And I was going through like a transition period, and I was told actually that I needed therapy. I was told by somebody like, hey, you need therapy, like, but not in a good way. Like, it was someone who weaponized it, like, if you ever been in a situation where somebody like tries to hurt you and say, you need therapy, it was like that. And so I went to therapy, which is the studio.
Yeah.
And literally the next day, and I told Biscuit and Butter kind of the story about what happened. And they were like, oh, we need to make a song about this. So we called our writer, Geo, who came into the studio that day, real dope writer, worked with Chris Brown and Trey Songz. And like, I mean, this guy is fantastic. And he came in and we came up with some melodies together and, wrote a hook down and came up with some ideas for verses and, just telling the story about, I got issues. We all got problems. That's the hook. And try to tell a story from the perspective of someone who is in a therapy session but doesn't want to be there, doesn't feel like they need to be there. So it offers a unique perspective on therapy, and it's supposed to be challenged. It's supposed to challenge you to consider, okay, your mental state and how it is that you want to fix it. And you know what I'm saying? It's supposed to be a thought-provoking song. And I think that we really nailed it on the head. I think that, like I said, with Biscuit, Butter, and Geo, like it was a really good opportunity. We made a great song. I'm really proud of it.
Well, listen, man, I'm so excited for you, but let me just say this. I'm a person of faith. So if you're not, I don't mean to offend you or anybody watching, but I mean, faith works for me. But it's amazing how God can work things out because somebody used the word or they used the statement telling you that you needed therapy. They tried to weaponize it. But what they didn't realize is that they were blessing you. It was God was using the enemy or this negative person as a vessel to get you to hear something that he wanted you to hear. So it's amazing how, God will remix that thing because I believe, listen, John, I'm telling, especially after COVID, I think the entire planet, present company on camera included with you, needs therapy because just everything that happened with COVID is it just really changed. It's just, the world is different. And I'm not going to go down a deep rabbit hole, but it's just, even in my own life, I got to, stress in my body don't act the same way before COVID that it did after COVID. I've had to, I had to change some things. Fortunately, I had a great family practice doctor who just retired, and I went to his retirement party, and I thanked him. I said he should have got 2 checks because not only was he he wasn't my family practice, he wasn't my general medicine doctor, he was my therapist. We just didn't get a check for 2. But I was fortunate that I had somebody that knew me. I had been going to see him for nearly 20 years. Outside of just knowing my history, medical history and everything, but I was always able to talk to him because he would always ask me, how are you really doing? And he would ask questions trying to see, what my mental state is. And we as Black Americans, we are dealing with what they call epigenetic trauma, like trauma that's passed down through our DNA, which is a real thing. So you got that trauma and the trauma that we deal with just every day in everyday life in real time. Listen, this song was much needed. I think we all need to listen to the lyrics of the song.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we tried to make something that was relevant to people, outside of the normal R&B, love making, baby making music. I mean, we love that too, don't get me wrong, but we wanted to make an impact, and I think with this song we really did. So I'm very proud of it. I think it's very relevant, like you said, to the situation. The whole world can relate to it in a way. We all got problems. So, therapy is it's a good, like, eye-opening opportunity to get people to think. It's supposed to be thought-provoking. And the video, I think, goes along with that too. We wanted to make something that was thought-provoking and creative too at the same time, a view into my mind and my world of therapy.
Well, before you have to run, since you're talking about the video, have your team send me the MP4, and it will be in rotation. It'll be in regular rotation on the show like tomorrow. So make sure you have them send me that MP4 and tell us a little bit about the album. What's the vibe of the entire album like? And any other producers or collaborations, some collabos that you did you want to shout out, go right ahead.
Yeah, it's made in LA. So, I just moved here in March, and we've been working hard. Even before I moved here, I was flying out to LA every month working on this music. So I don't know if we want to call it an album yet or an EP or whatever the extended project may be. It just depends on what the demand is. Right now we just going single by single and just trying to create a buzz for ourselves. And if the demand is there for a larger project, I'm definitely going to give it to them. But it's all made in LA. It's inspired by the art and the beauty that is Los Angeles, and the people that I've met in Los Angeles. And so it's going to be something that's really creative. It's going to be unique, one of a kind, and hopefully genre bending. I don't ever want to be stuck in any particular box, so expect to hear a variety of different genres, expect to hear a variety of different sounds. I'm still exploring my sound and discovering my sound and what John Alex Gatsby is. And so expect the science experiment.
Well, listen, John, your idol, your major influence, Michael Jackson, in terms of bending everything. He, especially when Thriller hit, even though a lot of people still argue that, I guess, from a pure R&B standpoint, Off the Wall was the greatest album. It's a toss-up for me, but Thriller, just because he broke so many boundaries, and
right.
Just, you had Beat It, you had the rock and roll song with the legendary rock guitar player, you had the R&B with Billie Jean, you had the PYT, you had the clubhouse, almost EDM, I want to be starting something. You had the baby making Lady in My Life. You whatever kind of joint you wanted on Thriller, you had it. But man, Off the Wall is Off the Wall is. So
I like Invincible, because Invincible was like in my time.
Yeah, that's a favorite of mine too.
Yeah, I like Invincible.
That's a favorite. I'm like you, man. Michael Jackson could sing the recipe on the back of pancake mix, and it would be a hit for me. I wouldn't give a damn. Hey, so listen, man, I am happy for you. Congratulations. I love your energy, brother. The sky is the limit for you. I need to put on some sunglasses, some of them Deion Sanders shades, because your future's so bright, man. It's burning my eyes. So congratulations. Are you going on tour anytime soon? And let everybody know where they can go download all your music and follow you on social media and support everything you're doing.
Yeah, of course. Definitely we're gonna be hitting the road very soon. We work in this record therapy. I just found out today it hit number 36 on the R&B chart, so we're super excited about that. But yes, we're gonna be hitting the road. We're gonna be seeing the entire world. My name is John Alex Gatsby. You can find me online at johnalexgatsby.com, at John Alex Gatsby on everything: Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, all of it. John Alex Gatsby, that's me. And Geno Jones, thank you so much for having me on this show.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. I gotta ask you. So Gatsby, is that your government surname, or was that?
It's not.
It's not.
No, John and Alex both are my actual names. Gatsby was a nickname that was given to me. It came from during the pandemic. I was in New York and I was throwing parties, and I I didn't want people to know whose house it was, for obviously the police was coming, and so I would throw these kind of lavish parties for my friends, and nobody really knew who it was. So the nickname was given to me by my friends, because they were like, you doing like the Gatsby joint. Gatsby used to do that type of shit. So
did you see the movie?
Yeah, I see the movie, the book, all of it. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna adopt that name, and we're gonna go with that. So Gatsby was born. We a modern day Roaring 20s.
I love it. Well, look, you need to be working on the screenplay and remix. Do the version of the Great Gatsby with some swag to it, for the culture.
That's right. That's right. We all know that if Gatsby really existed, he had to be black.
Yeah, come on now. Was man, the drip was fly,
phenomenal.
Clean. Come on, man. He had to be. Brother had to have swag. Let everybody know where they can download the music and follow you on social media.
Yeah, of course. Like I said, at John Alex Gatsby on everything. That's Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, johnalexgatsby.com. All my music is up there. Again, Geno Jones, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me with you this evening. And I look forward to talking with you again soon.
Listen, you have a permanent home on the Geno Jones Show. As a matter of fact, so home is going to need that MP4 of therapy. So everybody that's watching the show, you'll see it on my show tomorrow. But you can go, you've got it on YouTube. Do you have a YouTube channel? I know people can go see it on YouTube. So when y'all finish watching the show, you can go and find it on YouTube, and you'll see it on the Geno Jones Show tomorrow and for the rest of the week. John Alex Gatsby, may God continue to bless and have favor on you, my brother. Thank you again.
Thank you, my brother.
Hope to see you soon. All right. I love it. I love that name too. He's a good bro. I love his energy and everything. I love his energy. It was really good. And the name, John Alex Gatsby. No brother got to be fly. Thank you for letting me be a part of your life. As always, God bless each and every one of you and you and you and especially you and God most of all. Thank you for letting me do the Geno Jones Show. Live Monday through Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. in Chicago, 3:30 p.m. out in Los Angeles, where the brother John Alex Gatsby is right now. Please subscribe, share, screen grab, like, and binge watch. Oh, let me do it right. Subscribe, share, copy and paste the link, text the link to somebody, copy and paste it in a text message, copy and paste it in an email, screen grab, and create a viral moment, create a YouTube short, or put it up on TikTok or Snapchat or Instagram or Twitter. Yeah, I know, he called it X, I still call it Twitter or Facebook or whatever your social media platform is. Like and binge watch all my back episodes. We had some great episodes. As we continue the 30-year anniversary, it's a month-long celebration of the 30-year anniversary. 3 years doing the Geno Jones Show live, Monday through Friday, 5 days a week. I got some great guests. We got some issues going on about book banning. So I'm going to be talking about that, and we have an issue here. There's a school superintendent with the largest school district here in the Charleston, South Carolina metro area. I got a chance to meet the superintendent who is on a leave of absence, who had to file a lawsuit. And the folks that are against this dude are straight from the MAGA cult. So I'm going to give it to you straight, no chaser. We're going to talk about all that. Also, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Butch Kennedy, a good brother who did the men's Boys to Men conference that I had an honor to be a part of. He and I met because we are both huge. He does a hope walk against domestic violence. That's when I first met him. I took part in the hope walk, and I will again. He's going to be my guest on Wednesday. We're going to just deal with the subject of violence, domestic violence, period. Because yes, men are victims of domestic violence, but the vast majority of victims of domestic violence are women, and not just the women, but the children also. And I'll share a personal story about my life and what I witnessed my mother go through, even though I've talked about it on the show. So I got a big week, an exciting week of guests and content, so make sure you tune in. Shout out to Markel Bailey, the official barber and hairstylist for the Geno Jones Show. Check him out on Instagram. He is the CEO of Designer Cuts, about to move to a new location, having a grand opening real soon. Check him out on Instagram, Kel Be Cutting Up, KELBECUTTINUP. Allie Jones is the drip director, the official wardrobe consultant and stylist for the Geno Jones Show, along with Mr. Bruce Gage and the Mario Uomo collection. This shirt is courtesy of Mr. Bruce Gage, part of the Mario Uomo collection. Allie Jones, she has a collection, her LX.NCL collection. She has a custom-made crochet line. She had a summer crochet line with swimsuits and handbags and tops and leggings and little Scully beanies. She is doing a fall-winter crochet collection line. Amazing stuff, everything you could want, handbags, tops, pants, leggings. She even did a custom-made crochet yoga mat. So if you are a yoga fan, if you do yoga, you got a mat. She's got a custom-made crocheted yoga mat. But she's doing the little beanies for the winter, crocheted little caps, beanies, tops, pants, leggings, you name it, she does it all. Check out her collection, LX.NCL_. That's LX.N like Nanette, C like Charlie, L like Lexi, underscore is that little dash at the bottom, at the end of that second L. It looks like a little dash. That's called underscore. All right, everybody. Until Tuesday, the next live edition of the Geno Jones Show is going to be Tuesday, 6:30. If you missed some of this episode, go back and binge watch. Hopefully you didn't miss my conversation with my guest, this future star, John Alex Gatsby. He's got a brand new song called Therapy. So you will see that. His team is going to send me the MP4, and I'm going to put that into rotation on the Geno Jones Show. You will see it tomorrow. And I got a chance to see it already. You can actually check it out right now after the show. It's on YouTube, Therapy, John Alex Gatsby. But you'll see it on this show starting tomorrow and all week long. So thanks for watching, everybody. Be blessed. I love you all. And please, God, that's all. I'm praying for peace in the Middle East. Hopefully that we can find, collectively as a planet, we can find a peaceful resolution. Prayers go out to all the innocent victims, all the innocent women, men, children that were murdered in Israel, those that have been captured, that have been kidnapped. But at the same time, you have innocent men, women, and children who are not terrorists, who are not members of Hamas, who are not members of the evil, hateful, demonic terror group that murdered these innocent Israelis. You have women and children, half of the Gaza Strip, half of those Palestinians are under 21 years of age. So you have innocent people on all sides that are going to be the victims of what was initiated by this group Hamas. So I am praying that somehow, God, in your infinite wisdom and way, that we can get all those that have been kidnapped, get them released, return them to their families, and somehow come to a peaceful resolution. And I don't know how it's going to happen, guys. So you're the only person in this universe that's got the power to somehow touch hearts and minds to end this horror and this senseless violence. Because at the end of the day, whether you want to admit it, whether you want to accept it or not, because this whole race thing is a made-up construct or made-up system for social, economic, and political power. But from a standpoint of DNA and genetically, we are all distant cousins and members of the human race. Remember that. Thanks for watching, everybody. Once again, thanks to my guest, John Alex Gatsby. We'll see you live Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern.
Subscribe and tune in to the next episode of The Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube.